Hello, Father Peter. How are you?
I'm very well. It's good to see you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for inviting me to take part in this latest of your recorded interviews with various people from the city community.
It's my absolute pleasure. You are obviously my local father, and you're my chaplain. And so for both those reasons, I think it's really, really key that we just have a bit of a chat. And all I want to do is kind of see how what's this last year been like for you and your team? How's it been for you?
It's interesting because you asked me this question on the National Day of Reflection, a year after the first lockdown began. And so much has happened. I think if we look back a year ago, none of us could have anticipated or guessed what this year would have held. And it's been very difficult at times, both me personally, but for the other people in the community that have suffered a great deal more than I have. We think particularly of those who have lost loved ones, those who have been affected by the virus, those who have caught long COVID. We were just talking before we came on air about the vulnerable in our society and those who live alone, and the effect it's had on younger members of our community and society. And it's been a very difficult time for everybody, not seeing friends, not engaging in social activities, and all of the other effects that the lockdown has produced on us all.
Yeah, and for you, with your everyday work, I'm guessing things like weddings and funerals and everything have been incredibly different. How have you managed to handle those?
Well, thank you. Weddings have been a source of great frustration for the couples involved, I think, because they've generally had to rearrange and kind of working with moving goalposts the whole time. And the current regulations are that we can have a wedding for 6 people. In fact, I'm doing a wedding next week under that arrangement. But I do feel very sorry for the couple that had planned a much bigger ceremony last year. And of course, events have intervened. So some couples have postponed. Funerals, of course, are rather different because they obviously need to take place when the person concerned has passed away. They've mostly been at Haycombe for obvious reasons at the crematorium locally, although we've had a couple in church when it's been possible to do so.
And again, that must be something that is very difficult. These big life moments that people tend to mark if they share that religion by coming to church and sharing it with other people. That's just not been possible.
Exactly, and whether they got faith or not, people will want to mark the death of a loved one, and people just haven't been able to gather, whether it's a religious ceremony or a secular funeral, to mark and to give thanks for the love that they receive from that particular member of the family or friend that's died. So we've been relying a little bit on recording funerals and other acts of remembrance, but I think a lot of families are hoping to arrange a sort of memorial service later in the year, this year, when things became possible. If we look back a year, and the first funerals that we arranged in sort of March, April last year, we kind of assumed it would all be over by sort of September, October time, that we would be able to do something in the autumn. But of course, events, as we know, have sort of transpired, so that wasn't possible. So again, we hope in some cases that families will be able to arrange memorial celebrations later this year.
And in terms of the, I don't know if the correct phrase is regular services, but in terms of the ongoing services, I've noticed that you've been streaming on Facebook quite a lot. I guess if I said to you this time last year, you'd be spending a lot of time in the church on your own, talking to a camera, you might have thought that that wasn't going to be the case.
Yeah, we've all had to learn new skills. I mean, you yourself would have undertaken these sort of events face to face rather than through Zoom. As clergy across the city and across the nation, we've all had to learn new ways of streaming worship, using whichever media we choose. We've used Facebook in Bathwick quite a lot, and Zoom a little bit, and YouTube. But it's not, doesn't feel normal being church by oneself. In Bathwick, we've taken the decision to open up the church to public worship whenever that's been legally possible. Obviously having to bear in mind social distancing issues and track and trace and the mask wearing and all of the other things we've got so used to. And it's been good for people to be able to gather on a Sunday morning or during the week for that purpose. But there are still those who are remain in lockdown, unable to come to church because of ill health or other reasons. So we've had a sort of combination of some things done live streaming, as you described, and other things being open for public attendance. Yes,
and I think that may be the way forward for quite a long time, that there will be people who maybe have lost confidence in coming out, and if you can record something and show it to them, then why not? I think when I'm looking back on my year, I mean, I've still got 3 months to go, and Elizabeth will tell me, you've still got 3 months to go, you've still got to do this, but you do start thinking about what legacies will be and what you'll look back on. One of my favourite days, I think, was a day that you hosted for me, which was the interfaith.
Oh yes,
where everyone came together and they all talked about the theme that we did. I loved that day. Did you enjoy? I hope you enjoyed it.
No, I did. It was lovely to hear from the different people from different faith communities across the city, all giving their different perspectives on the theme of loneliness, which is your theme for the year, and what a fantastic theme that has turned out to be with the circumstances in which we've found ourselves. But it was very informative hearing from the Muslim community, from the Jewish faith, from members of other faith communities, and just hearing their different perspectives and drawing out some of the similarities and some of the differences that those different speakers had on that particular theme.
Yeah, no, I remember there are some things that stick in your mind, aren't there? And I remember it stuck in my mind very much the difference between being alone and being lonely, and how one can be a positive and one can be a negative. And also the gentleman who infused us all to do a bit of kitchen dancing. If you're feeling a little bit down, that's I've taken it just enough time to dance to have the kettle boiling.
On YouTube, Madam Mayor, can we all watch?
Yes. Now, you said that at the time, Father Peter, and I had to say no then, and I'm saying no again.
I thought maybe that would be on your outtakes video as you leave office.
Yes, the private version, the director's cut. Before I let you go, we're coming up to what I imagine is one of your very busy times of the year at Easter. What's happening with you and the churches at Easter? Are you going to be able to open a lot, do you feel?
Holy Week, the week which starts this coming weekend on Palm Sunday, lasts through to Easter, is of course the most important week in the Christian calendar. So I know most of the churches across the city, and certainly ourselves in both the Bathwick churches, will be open for worship. And we mark the events which we associate with Jesus from the entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. You'll remember the story as he arrived on the back of a donkey, and the crowds laid their cloaks in front of him and shouted, "Hosanna to the coming Son of David." And through the events of the Last Supper, which we commemorate on the Thursday of Holy Week, and through the events of Jesus' arrest and trial and death, and then ultimately, of course, at Easter of the resurrection. So it's a very important week, of course, in the Christian calendar, and all the churches of the city will be marking that however they can, given the circumstances in which we find ourselves.
Yes, and I think that's it's a tribute to everybody, really, that we've got to a stage where we are able to open up. I don't know if you have joined the people who've been jabbed. I've had my first.
Yes, I was jabbed just over a week ago, which was thanks be to God for all those who have engaged in that scientific research and involved in the manufacture and, of course, in the distribution of the vaccine locally as well as across the nation and beyond.
I mean, it is just a stunning achievement, I think, when you look at the numbers that have been involved, and it's because of that it is allowing us to open up in the way that we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to thank you. Well, I want to thank you for two things. I want to thank you for being my chaplain, and I want you to thank you for the texts I get occasionally that just say, "Just checking in, are you okay?" That's really, really kind of you, and terribly, terribly appreciated.
Well, You're very kind, and thank you for the honour of asking me to be your chaplain this year. It's been such an unusual year for us all. The way that you have been the mayor of Bath this year has been quite unlike any of your 790 odd, however many of his predecessors, and correspondingly, the way that I've been chaplain, of course, has been altered in the way that. Compared with what would normally be expected, but it's been a great privilege to act as your chaplain, to keep you in my prayers and my pastoral support, such as it is.
Thank you, and also thank you for the community, mainly in Bath, but obviously the wider community in Bath, because I think one of the other things that has struck me very much is how much, and it isn't just the Christian faith, it's a lot of faiths have actually gone out there and really helped the community through a really tough time, and you are a shining example of a group of people who have done that. So on behalf of the City of Bath, thank you for doing that as well, Father Peter.
And if I could vicariously extend that thanks to all of the members, as you say, of all the faith communities, and indeed those who have no faith, who have also engaged in very generous acts of charity to the needy in our society.
I think that's a wonderful place to leave it. Thank you ever so much for your time, Father Peter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good to speak. Good to see you, and to have this privilege.